Pinocchio is the reason we've been wishing on stars our whole life, despite it never resulting in a wish-granting blue fairy. Disney's latest live-action-ish adaptation of one of their classic animated films has dolled up Disney Plus Day with the classic tale of a little wooden puppet's quest to become a real boy. Disney has come a long way since 1940 when the original animated movie was released. And as is the custom, there's all kind of homages and nods, and not all of them are Gepeto's clocks. I mean, a lot of them are, but not all of them. Let's take a deeper dive into the new Pinocchio movie and take a look at 25 things you might have missed in the movie. I'm Joey C. Let's go! Look, when you have a wall full of cuckoo clocks in a movie like this, they're gonna be peanut butter and jam-packed with references and Easter eggs. Just having a wall of clocks go off at once reflects director Robert Zemeckis' massive hit franchise Back to the Future, when Doc Brown's clocks all alarm at the same time. But there are finer details tucked inside, like the one that makes a nod to Gepeto actor Tom Hanks' other notable Disney role, as the voice of Woody in Pixar's Toy Story. When the clock strikes the hour, Andy's favorite cowboy doll emerges riding his trusty steed Bullseye. Back to the Future wasn't the only defining movie that Robert Zemeckis helmed in the 80s. In fact, Zemeckis has a pretty incredible track record of delivering bangers. Back to the Future, Castaway, Forrest Gump, and Death Becomes Her. Sure, he's also responsible for the unintentional haunting Polar Express, but with his hit list, you can excuse a few misses now and then. One of those defining movies was co-produced by Disney's Touchstone Pictures and distributed via Disney's Buena Vista Pictures distribution. This movie would be a massive love note to classic animation that turned out to be a bit of an all-skate for classic characters, including a piano showdown between ducks, Daffy and Donald. Who Framed Roger Rabbit gets a clock where the movie's titular rabbit gets a kiss from his devoted wife Jessica, complete with hearts popping out from behind the clock, and it's very cute. One of the first adventures Pinocchio has, when he realizes you can't just show up at school as something you've never been and just start taking classes, is being sold off to a marionette show. After all, an autonomous marionette would be a big draw, or a horrifying sign that evil is taking over your town and coming for your soul. It's really all in how you sing Got No Strings. Pinocchio does the non-menacing rendition while regular marionettes act as his backup dancers ranging from ballet to can-can. One of the backdrops used during the performances is a painting of Sleeping Beauty's Aurora's castle. Pinocchio has become a key part of Disney's identity with a refrain from the song When You Wish Upon a Star, and Jiminy sharing space with Tinkerbell as a character used to support and promote their band. Given all of that, it's hard to imagine that the movie resulted in a loss for Disney. Despite good reviews, the movie ended up losing Disney $1 million, equivalent to $21 million now. That paired with another big swing and temporary miss, Fantasia, Disney needed something to make up for the loss. That movie was Dumbo, the tale of a pachyderm born into a circus who sported gigantic ears. Folks initially make fun of Dumbo until they learn he can fly. Dumbo already got its live-action-ish take from stylistic director Tim Burton. The big-eared flying elephant makes an appearance in his own cuckoo clock. When it gets right down to it, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is a weird, dark movie, even when it's Disneyed up. A stepmom and queen gets jelly of her stepdaughter's good looks after she asks the spirit she's trapped in a mirror who is the fairest, and sends a hunter to cut her heart out, causing her to go live with 7 workaholic dwarves until the queen gets her to eat an enchanted apple, putting her into a magic sleep until some dude kisses her awake. It's a weird story. It also gets a nod as the cuckoo clock depicts an apple and the sleep and the 7 dwarves popping out to notice their border has gone down. Enchanted sleeping princesses that could only be awoken by a kiss were kind of a thing, apparently. This wild tale of sleeping princesses happens when the royal family doesn't invite the nearby Debbie Downer, Maleficent, to the birth of their newborn, so she crashes the party and curses her to die when she's 16 from a spinning wheel needle. Kinda specific and very weird. One of the 3 magical fairies there splits the difference and makes it a lingering sleep until the other baby, this baby, was promised to in marriage to unite the kingdom. Gives that story's version of true love's kiss. Maleficent gets her own cuckoo clock, complete with Princess Aurora at the top pricking her finger on the spinning wheel needle and conking out. Donald Duck would later be joined by his mischievous nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, in the various adventures in shorts, TV shows, and movies. And as a cuckoo clock on the wall, naturally, while Donald runs around the house, the boys fly out of it to mark the hour. In sort of a reverse Cinderella Aladdin, a young street thief who longs to be worthy of the Princess Jasmine, his fairy godmother comes in the form of a genie that will grant him 3 wishes, but would be super happy if his 3rd wish was to free the genie from servitude. Figuring that you can't woo a princess without being a prince, Aladdin's wish is to become a prince himself. Just like mice turning into horses to draw a carriage, Aladdin's monkey companion, Abu, gets turned into an elephant, since owning an elephant is more bougie than having a monkey. Plus, you can't ride a monkey. They get really mad when you try. Abu's elephant self makes his own appearance as the cuckoo in his own cuckoo clock. Since the animated Pinocchio was only the 2nd go for the young studio, there wasn't a lot to reference. But the clocks in the original are just pure whimsy, meant to demonstrate the wild imagination and skill of their maker. 2 of those clocks reappear in the remake. The flower clock appears to be virtually unchanged, while the kind of disturbing one gets an update. In the original, there was a clock that marked the hour by a mechanical mother spanking a bare-bottomed child. The new version adds a police officer who interrupts the spanking in progress. During his visit to Pleasure Island, it's essentially the manifest wish of little kids, where there's unlimited candy, rides, and you can break stuff. Upon his arrival, Pinocchio is given a double draft of root beer in a frosty beer mug, because I guess being a kid means safely mimicking adult vices. The Budweiser slogan on the barrel is changed from King of Beers to King of Root Beers. I guess that's a little safer for the kids. Pinocchio and his new friend, on their boat ride through Hyperactive Haven, end up fisting 2 root beers a couple of times on the ride, which creates a blink and you'll miss it reference to the original. In the animated movie, just like the remake, Gepeto doesn't trust his cuckoo clocks to tell the time and instead double checks his trusty pocket watch. When we get to see it, it shows that the face contains 2 men who move together as the top of the hour approaches to clink their own pair of beer mugs. Gepeto's live-action watch likewise doesn't get a lot of attention, but it still gets in on the connection game. The Little Mermaid, the movie that brought Disney back to the top of the animated feature heap, featured the story of a mermaid who wants to get to know a prince from the surface world. To pull this off, she's robbed of her voice, and has to convince Prince Eric to kiss her to make her a landlubber and get her voice back. At least this time she's conscious, and actively trying to get kissed by him specifically. Ariel makes a mad deal with Ursula the Sea Witch, who hides her voice in a shell that's similar to the one on Gepeto's watch. As we've alluded to already, Pinocchio is based on a series of short stories serialized in the early children's magazines, as the Tales of the Puppet written by Carlo Collodi. The stories were later collected into the novel The Adventures of Pinocchio. The author gets a nod in the form of a bar of soap that Jiminy stands on when he's getting his marching orders from the Blue Fairy, who would later sing the song that originally went to Jiminy. One of the first adventures Pinocchio has, when he realizes you can't just show up at school as something you've never been and just start taking classes, is being sold off to a marionette show. After all, an autonomous marionette would be a big draw, or a horrifying sign that evil is taking over your town and coming for your soul. It's really all in how you sing Got No Strings. Pinocchio does the non-menacing rendition, while regular marionettes act as his backup dancers ranging from ballet to can-can. One of the backdrops used during the performances is a painting of Sleeping Beauty's Aurora's castle. The slightly Shakespearean tale of kings and succession applied to the pride of lions in the savannah was part of Disney's return to form that started with The Little Mermaid, that solidified Disney as once again the kings of feature animation. The Lion King's iconic opening, where Rafiki presents a young Simba to the animals of the savannah as the apex predator that will dine on your sick and slow. The animal kingdom is a complex place. They had to sing a whole song about the interconnection between predators and prey. Rafiki presents Simba Lion King style out of a cuckoo clock. Jiminy even uses it as a swing from one clock to the next. Say what you want about Stromboli, at least his expletive plan involved Pinocchio's unique situation. The Coachman, on the other hand, apparently gets paid in bulk and figures a wooden boy is as good as any, scooping Pinocchio in his wagon and taking the kids to Pleasure Island, which, naturally, has a hidden and nefarious cost. The animated version's Coachman must have gotten sloppy, because on the wall is a wanted poster for him. On the same wall that has the wanted poster for the animated version's Coachman, it also includes a wanted poster for Honest John and Gideon as well. To the left, there is a poster for the Russian ballet advertising what looks like the dancing fairies. Well, the verb form of dancing in Italian is danzane, and it looks like it ends with an H instead of an E. But also, listen, I clearly don't know Italian. The title plays off La Fate Ignoranti, or The Ignorant Fairy, a show that's now streaming on Disney+. In Neverland, the monthly Dance of the Fairies is a big social event for the fairies. Both the 1940 film and the current one are built around the idea of this being a story, and a thing that happened once upon a time. The animated movie starts with Jiminy opening the book Pinocchio, which has an emblem of the character on it. The live-action movie closes with a book that is in similar design. Thanks to the serialized nature of the source material, Pinocchio has a serialized feel even as a movie. While these events can feel distinct, there are some bridging the stories together. The live action does away with Honest John coming back to get Pinocchio in the hands of the Coachman. Instead, Pinocchio is just swept up by him on the way to Pleasure Island. Granted, they are common pack animals. Donkeys figure prominently in both Stromboli's caravan and the Coachman's wagon, which seems innocent at first, but foreshadows the Midsummer Night Dream-esque transformation awaiting the kids at the other end of Pleasure Island. Umbrellas can be useful in certain circumstances, but for the most part, it's just this extra thing that you're carrying around to use for a short period of time that you then have to dry off and deal with, to the point that a lot of times it just feels like less hassle to get rained on. If you're the Penguin, or a Disney character, however, you can make the most out of your umbrella. Jiminy certainly uses it to slow his falls or hook onto things to get from one place to another. He also has the same defensive technique of Wendy and her siblings when she's confronted by the Lost Boys for the first time, popping the umbrella out and hiding behind it, because vampires can't get through umbrella. What? Different Lost Boys? Oh, right. Moving on. Compared to the antics the kids get up to in the original, the kids in the live-action Pleasure Island are kind of mild, but the one place where they still get their dark side revved up is the highly specific corridor where they smash clocks, particularly cuckoo clocks. I mean, a clock that makes a big production about each hour that passes would get on your nerves pretty quickly. Lampwick tries to demonstrate how fun breaking stuff is, and I can agree, it's very fun. So he pulls out a slingshot, and before his stone hits the face of the clock, you'll see that there's a face inside of the face, and that is reminiscent of the living grandfather clock from Beauty and the Beast. Pinocchio is deceptively hard to spell. In fact, throughout the script, autocorrect has been doing most of the heavy lifting for me on most of these names. Turns out, Honest John agrees with me when he tries to spell out Pinocchio's name for the potential marquee. When he gets around to how many having to remember, if it's 2 N's or 2 C's or how hard the K sound is written, he decides a stage name is in order, resulting in a pop culture reference to Chris Pine. You know, because his last name is Pine and Pinocchio is made of Pine. Yeah, you get it. Okay, moving on. As the saying goes, there's no honor among thieves, but confident men have to have at least some trust in each other and a bond formed from the belief that they're smart and everyone else is stupid. While Honest John does the talking and Gideon does the malleting, we get a sense of how close they are, or at least their sense of humor over their bond. Gideon's cricking smashing mallet that knocks out his partner has GH plus G carved in it, surrounded by a heart for Honest John and Gideon. Pinocchio's Pleasure Island contains some acknowledgement that the happiest place on Earth can be disassociating and pushing people into a single experience at the cost of variety and creating your own experiences. The Ferris wheel with the giant face echoes the Ferris wheel in California Adventure, itself a condensed cartoon California in California. Actual Highway 1 is less than 45 minutes away, but why go to the real thing when you can walk the facsimile? The Candy Sweet Promenade, with its own town design, resembles Disneyland's Main Street, and the structures have spires, similar to the design in Disneyland. The park is also known for its firework display, though they frown on people shooting them at each other. Whether or not this is intentional is a little beside how fun it is. The final boss, so to speak, in Pinocchio's travels is Monstro. Since whales, at best, only accidentally and temporarily eat kayakers, the idea that Pinocchio and Gepeto got their Jonah and the Whale on has been slightly modified, having Monstro be a proper monster with both whale-like qualities and the addition of octopus arms, which makes it reminiscent of Mockbusters and the Sharknado films, and their other word mashup classic, Sharktopus. Credit to Brian Boone at Looper for this read. Pinocchio has become a meta-reference to itself and other live-action adaptations. At its core is the attempt for Pinocchio to overcome being a facsimile of life, a marionette, and becoming a real boy. At the end, when Pinocchio's unique qualities saves them from Monstro, Gepeto remarks that a real boy could never have done that. While he's not flesh and bone, he is alive, but uniquely capable. Just as movies like this live-action adaptation of their animated classic attempt to take an animated character that benefits from the freedom of animation and strives to make it real, and the pitfalls of that obsession. Layers, man, layers. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else in between, you made it to the end of the video. What did you think of the new Pinocchio movie? Did you notice anything that we didn't? If so, let us know in the comments below. And as always, everybody, thanks for watching.